And, like any other little kid, your nose starts itching or your eyes start itching. You start rubbing your eyes and all that. And my eyes got all puffy like a monster. I remember my teacher saying, "Oh, he looks like a monster." And I didn't know what that all that was. And I'm gonna tell you, it made things really crazy. And in fact, I really think that might have affected my track and field career because I could not understand why. I trained really, really hard. I was captain of my track team in high school, not because I was the fastest. I wasn't the fastest, but I worked the hardest. I was very committed to sacrificing to be the best because I wanted to be one of the fastest. I didn't understand the genetics of track and field though. That's what kind of created a lot of frustration because I probably shouldn't have done track. I probably should have done golf or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, I did learn hard work and it was very frustrating. And maybe this is the lesson like for all of us. And I can tell you what the lesson was for me since we're doing financial consciousness, which is what we do every morning. So let me tell you the story, and then I'll tell you the lesson, the what I learned from it, and hopefully it'll help you. So here's the deal: I would work super hard, right? Everybody else came to practice once a day. I practiced in the morning. I would get up in the morning and go run in the morning. Then I would go to the main practice, and then I would go to my job at Taco Bell. And this was after going to school all day. And then I would run again at night. Like that was how serious I was, how committed I was, because I really wanted to be fast. When I see those guys that they have that talent and they're running in the Olympics and all that, I wanted to do that. That's what I wanted more than anything. And the problem was, track and field is heavily genetic. It's, if you take two really fast sprinters and they have a baby, that baby is going to be a fast sprinter. If you don't have the genetics, you can work your butt off and train like crazy. But there's only so fast you're going to go in the 60-meter dash, 100-meter dash, 200, 400, all that. So I did okay, but I wasn't great. And one of the things that was interesting was, and what I did not know was that I had an issue with I think my allergies caused me to have maybe some sort of athletic induced asthma or something because I would train super hard and my coaches couldn't understand how I was in such great shape. But every time I ran the 400 meters, which if you know track and field, you'll know that's the most painful race ever. It just does something to your body. I would just die at the end. My body just would not respond. And I remember I would start every season. I'd be super pumped up, like, yeah, 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 this is going to be a great season. I'm going to be ready. And I would lift weights and everything else and get out there. And I would either I would not reach my potential or I would pull a hamstring. That was another problem I had. And we just had terrible coaches. And, I used to learn track because we had a great coach and then he left my freshman year. And so the other time we didn't have a coach. So I was kind of the coach of the team. And I wasn't qualified to be the coach. I was only 16 years old, And so anyway, here's my point on this, or here's what I had no point when I brought up the story, just so you know. But here's what I learned from that experience. So what happened was I had these big goals, and every year I would keep setting these goals and keep pushing and pushing and pushing so I could reach my objective. And I never reached it. I never got close to it. Most of my track and field career was pretty much a major disappointment. I only had like one or two highlights that I can think of where things went right. Right now, but here's the thing, right? So all that disappointment, which literally, I remember one day it just led me to tears. I remember literally just sitting there with one of the coaches, like just kind of crying because I was like, damn, like why can't I do this? Why can't I run faster? Why does my hamstring keep pulling? Why am I not able to reach the goal that I set for myself? Because I always thought, we believe in the fairy tale. We believe that if you keep working and you work hard enough, and you push like in the Rocky movie, that eventually you're going to win the championship, you're going to get what you want. And sometimes the fairy tale does not come true. Sometimes you do everything right and you prepare, you kick butt, you train, you do it, work as hard as you can, and you still don't get what you came for. Right? And that was my experience, as an athlete. I love sports. I was pretty good. I was good enough to think I was good. Like I was a faster sprinter than every single boy on the entire football team. I didn't play football. They wanted me to though, because as you can tell, they had a stocky build and I was very fast. But I didn't play football. I think my ADHD made it hard for me to remember the plays. The coach would be talking about the play, and I'd be over here looking over at this, thinking about daydreaming or whatever. So football wasn't my thing. But anyway, so I had enough ability to think I was good. Like a lot of black boys have this. A lot of black boys get cursed, and this is an economic curse, by the way. Athletics and sports is a huge economic curse for the black male because there are millions of black boys like myself who have just enough talent to think that we're good. Tell me if you know what I'm saying. Tell me if you've seen this. We have enough talent, to think that we're good. We run fast, we jump high, And we all think we're going to the NFL or the NBA, right? We all think that. And then what happens is we get sucked into these sports and they overcommit, they overinvest. They make a very bad investment. There's that word investment. Remember, I told you most investing does not have anything to do with money. Most investing is in the things that money can't buy, like your time, your passion, your love, your attention, all that. So we overinvest in sports. Tell me if you notice this. And then sports does not pay off. 99% of all the black boys who play football will never make a nickel playing football. So, given that 99% of all the black boys who play football will never make a nickel playing football, why would it make sense to overinvest in football and not invest in life? Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't play football. I'm not saying you shouldn't play basketball. I'm not saying you shouldn't run track. I learned a lot of valuable lessons from sports. Sports teaches you teamwork. It teaches you how to work hard for your goals. It teaches you how to be consistent, all these other things, how to be disciplined. But the overcommitment is what gets us in trouble when you have a whole culture built around guys that literally define themselves. Again, this is all mental. This is psychological. They define themselves as athletes and at worst, dumb jocks. With the culture, with the weed and the women and the liquor and the silliness, right? And then pay attention now. I need y'all to listen. I need y'all to connect the dots. Let me know. Give me a yes if you're connecting the dots. Let me know if you're getting what I'm saying here. By the time they get to about 25, 26 years old, they haven't got any training on what it takes to be a black man. They haven't got any training on what it takes to survive. And I'm not talking about just being a big muscular man with a big beard. Like everybody knows how to grow a damn beard. Everybody knows how to imitate a rapper and wear the jewelry or whatever. I'm talking about doing the things that men are supposed to do, like provide for a family, like raise them damn babies that they got you out here making while you up here. You the athlete, you the big jock, and you got all these women, and you made all these babies. Well, now you made all these responsibilities and all these economic commitments. And you better keep your commitment. You better do your damn job. Because when you don't show up and do your job, the whole team fails. It's just like sports. Your family is your team. It's like a sport. When one teammate doesn't do their job, the whole team suffers. So every time you see, and I want you to connect with me on this, because this is not just an economic discussion. This is bigger than economics. This is life. Every time you see a guy who's got 7 babies mamas and 7 children that are just like, I don't even know my daddy. I don't like the guy. He don't send us nothing. It was just me and my mom. That's the common story. Anybody notice that how many people grow up and you hear that story, growing up, it was just me and my mom and it was a struggle. It was just me and my mom. That's become the black narrative. That's become the expectation that, well, it's just me and my mom. And I personally think that if you're going to really talk about black economics, you got to start asking, well, where's daddy at least daddy's money? Like, I'm not saying daddy shouldn't show up with love and attention, but that's important too. And a lot of fathers do that, right? So Father's Day is coming up. So we're not here to crap all over fathers. We're not doing that. I'm a father, right? But at least like there should be something there that shows daddy's presence, right? Something that's there that, like, okay, we're able to buy a new house because daddy is contributing to the household. And I think that this is really speaking to something deeper and bigger when you talk about economics and athletics and everything else I'm doing a stream of consciousness here. I hope you can forgive me. I know typically I greet a lot of you when you come in. I apologize for that, but I'm really grabbing from the universe the next connecting point here, because this is an important conversation. When you're talking about black economics and you're talking about black family, and in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, you can't have economics without family. You can't have economics without family. You cannot have economics without family. So the fact that you have no family explains a big chunk of the reason why you have no economics. It does. Do you understand? Do we get the connection? Give me a yes if you're following the connection, okay? So when you're talking about that economics and family, as a man, and with Father's Day coming up, I want to talk about just what it means to be a man in general, right? And because I think about manhood and I think about sports. I go back, my brain is on sports today. And in a minute, I'm going to talk about Caitlin Clark, because that was another sports topic that was on my mind. It's an economic conversation. But when I think about sports as a man, one of the things about sports is that manhood is partly defined by your ability to manifest. Man is short for manifest. Manifest means if I go and I play you on the football field and you tell me you're going to defeat me, It doesn't matter because I'm going to manifest a victory for my team. I'm going to dominate you. I'm going to make sure that I manifest a reality that allows me to show you that I'm here and I'm present and I'm kicking ass and taking names and you can't stop me. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like literally leaving a print, leaving a mark, leaving your mark. Most ambitious men have one thing in common. Most ambitious men have this in common. They want to leave a mark on the world. They don't want to be the wimpy little biatch sitting in the back that nobody knew was here and nobody benefited from. No man wants to be that. No real man does anyway. So as a man, you want to manifest. You want to use the power of God to leave a print that says, "Hey, I was here, man. I was here. You knew my presence meant something, right?" And that's what we do in sports, right? Like if I'm a football player and we have a football team, we're like, no, we're going to show you what we can do. We're going to manifest the championship. We're going to manifest this reality. So my point is to say this. I think that when you talk about manhood in the context of this bigger game, the more important game called life, this competition that we're in called race and racism, this competition that we're in with other men around the world and white folks and everything else, all these people that want to oppress us, they want to take that ability to manifest, they want to take that manhood and reduce it to nothingness, right? There's been consistent conversations from people like Malcolm X and Dr. Claude Anderson, two men that are behind me, about the desire to emasculate the male, to make sure that his ability to manifest is pretty much killed, that anything you manifest is simply going to be an artifact of white supremacy, that the white man is going to decide what you're going to manifest, right? So here's what my point. So let's circle back to the basic idea of a man having children and a woman that he had children with. If your kids grow up and there's no evidence of your presence in their lives, either physically, emotionally, or financially, then you haven't done your job as a man because you haven't manifested anything. There's no evidence that you were there. There's no print that you left on the situation. There's no impact that you've had. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like so really, so in my view, I will say this, and again, this is my bias, this is my own personal opinion. And maybe you can get your sons or your uncles or your nephews to come watch. And if you're a man, I hope you'll hear what I'm saying and get my point. I know that I'm saying a lot, but I hope that it's coming across. When I wake up every day, my goal in life, personally and professionally and otherwise, is to make sure that my presence is felt, to make sure that it's felt in a positive way, to make sure that I manifest something good in the world, something that moves the team forward. What is my team? My team is my wife and my kids. That's the first team. So with every child, I manifest. I say, "Oh, no, I'm here. Let me tell you how to do that. No, stop doing this. Or here, let me help you with that. Here, I want to encourage you to do this." You understand? I want at my funeral, I think about my funeral about once a month because I know I'm going to die. In case you don't know, you are too. We all are. Nobody, this thing called life, ain't none of us gonna make it out alive. This is a movie where none of us makes it out alive. So stop just trying to survive and start learning how to live. You got to learn how to live. You don't learn how to live until you face the reality of death. That's the truth. So I think about my funeral a lot, and I think to myself, I say, gosh, when I'm sitting in that casket, I want the people there to say, gosh, my life was different because Boyce was here. Like because of Boyce, I did this, or Boyce said this to me, and that made me do that. All right, so like, when I talk to you all, and I meet you all, and you're also part of my team too, by the way. I want to make sure that's clear. So when I meet you all, I'm walking through the airport, and somebody walks up and they say, "Yeah, Dr. Boyce, I bought my first house because of you." I'm like, cha-ching, yes, right? It's like scoring a touchdown. Dr. Boyce, I bought my first share of stock because of you. Yes. All right. Right. So it's what I'm saying is, and maybe I hope it doesn't sound selfish because it's not intended to be that way. It's really just coming back to just that definition. Again, if you played sports, you know what I'm talking about. Just that word man to me means manifest. And the goal of every ambitious man is to not just manifest on a polite little, tiny little meek way. It's to be a juggernaut. It's to be literally somebody where they walk in a room and they know you were in that room. My wife jokingly, she says, "Boy, she like the juggernaut." I go in a room and it's all messy, and you got books and papers everywhere, and I know Boyce when I walk in the room. I know Boyce was there, and I laugh. I say, "That's right, because I'm a man, baby." I'm kidding, but in all seriousness, though, I think that ability to manifest, and I think as a community, as a team, our ability to manifest our own reality is absolutely essential for us to really conquer this economic thing. So we have to decide what our reality is going to be and never, ever, ever fall for the myth that your reality is shaped by some other group of people. Like I just cannot accept that. Not because it can't be true, but because that's just not the best of us. That's not who we're supposed to be. And in fact, actually, I'm gonna before I even I was gonna actually talk about the Caitlin Clark thing, which I'm gonna get to that. And I'll tell you all about what I mean by the Caitlin Clark. Some of y'all don't even know who that is, but I'll explain all that to you. But it made me think about this story that I put this on my Twitter. My Twitter is Dr. Boyce Watkins 1, Dr. Boyce Watkins is the number 1. And on my Twitter, I put this image of this article where there was a brother that just got charged with murder in Philadelphia, and he got charged with murder because the white guy he got into a dispute with called him the N word. So he called him the N word, and I guess the guy that killed him, he was on the phone with 911. I guess because the white guy was yelling at him, threatening him, or something like that. And so he ended up shooting the white guy. Now it could have been self-defense, right? If it's self-defense, fine, that's great. I hope I hope he gets out, and I hope that that's okay. However, one thing I was concerned about was I hope he did not decide to shoot him because he called him a name. Now I get it. I know that word is triggering. I don't like it. I don't like when we call each other that. Any variant of that word, I don't like any of that. But to the idea of killing somebody or fighting somebody over a word is something that I wanted to talk about from an economic consciousness standpoint, and I want to break it down like this. I really pray that men and women understand that you can't have yourself called away to prison and taken away from your children just because somebody called you a word. Words don't have that much power. Words do have power, but words should not have that much power to the point where somebody can get you to throw away your whole life over, them calling you a name. That's really a tremendous amount of control that someone else has over you. And let me explain why you have to be thoughtful about this. And let me explain why this connects to economic consciousness, which is what we're doing here every morning with economic elevation training. Let me just explain this. How many of you, give me a yes in the chat. How many of y'all plan to make big money one day? How many of you are planning to build wealth? How many of you are aiming for success? Let's manifest that. How many of you are aiming for the top of the mountain? How many of you want to break generational curses and do great things in your life and accomplish amazing things, get that promotion, build that business, invest in those stocks, build that wealth, and become successful? Give me a yes in the chat. Okay. So most of you hopefully said yes. Those who said no, let's keep talking. Hopefully I can get you to own that. Here's the reality about success. Success automatically breeds competition from others who are not as successful as you, and this competition will sometimes show up as a hater. It'll show up as literally the gathering of tremendous numbers of what my friend Spice One, a great rapper out of the Bay Area, calls player haterology. You will have player haterologists all around you who will hate on everything you do. Their number one goal is not to compete with you because they know that they can't. They're not going to try to outdo you because they can't outdo you. They've already tried to outdo you. So because they can't outdo you, their only goal at that point is to derail you. If I can't outrun you, then I'm gonna find some way to cut you off at the knees. Anybody remember Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding? Anybody remember that? Anybody who's old enough to remember that? So in case you don't remember, let me tell you the story. So Nancy Kerrigan was it was like a battle between two white women, so black people ain't got nothing to do with this. But she was this lady that was an amazing figure skater, and she was the best on earth, the best figure skater on the planet. Tanya Harding was just kind of like an inferior version of Nancy Kerrigan. She wasn't as pretty. She didn't have as much grace. She didn't have as much class. Tanya kind of came out of the trailer park and kind of looked kind of rough, so she wasn't marketable, and she couldn't beat Nancy Kerrigan on the ice. So she got really jealous. She realized, okay, I can't be your competitor, so I'm just going to sit back and be a player haterologist. So what Tanya Harding did was she arranged for some guy to catch Nancy Kerrigan, in a hallway and bust her kneecaps. Like she had this guy bust Nancy Kerrigan's kneecaps so she could not compete. And so to me, that is, it was her boyfriend. Thank you, Jihad. I don't remember all the details, but still though, to me that's that kind of energy that you tend to attract when you are doing everything right, when you're on top of your game, when you're focused, when you're killing it, and you're kicking butt and taking names. So here's my point. This gets back to that story about the brother going to prison because somebody called him the N-word. So think about it like this. So if you're doing well, you're doing good, you're happy, you got a great relationship, you got a great family, you're getting money, you're really carrying yourself at the highest levels. You're vibrating on level 10. And think about this. Imagine if all I got to do to get you to throw all that away is I got to call you a name. All I got to do is say, you dumb Igor, and you'll throw all that away. Then basically you're letting the hater win. You're really letting the hater win. Because remember, the hater's job and the hater's goal is not to compete with you, because they can't. You'll never have a hater that's doing better than you. You never will. You'll only have haters that want something that you have, or are trying to compete with you, and they've realized they can't compete with you, so their goal will be to derail you. So to me, when I hear somebody who says, oh, they call me the N-word, I'm going to jail today, I say, gosh, like, really? So you're gonna let this toothless hillbilly who ain't got a nickel in his pocket, who's powerless in society, who has a miserable life, you're gonna let this person ruin everything good you have going on, take you away from your children, cause you to lose your job because he literally spouted one word? I'm just gonna tell you this. I don't know. I can't think of a single. Think about it like this. Elon Musk is just got a pay package for about, I want to say, $56 billion. Okay, and I can only imagine. Let me ask you this: do you think that there is any word I could call Elon Musk that would cause him to throw away his $56 billion pay package and his $200 billion net worth? Like, do you think that there's anything I can say? Do you think I could walk up and say, you cracker? And get him like, oh, I'm going to jail now. Oh, dude, it's on now, man. It's on now. And then punch me in the face, and then I can sue him for like $20 million for all the pain and distress I went through because Elon Musk slapped me in public. Like, do you really think that there's anything I could say to him or about him that would cause him to throw it all away because he wants to make a point? Because somehow the word I said to him has enough power over his psyche that he just lost it. He's, take me away from my kids and my wife. I'm throwing Tesla in the garbage because I got to go get this guy back. That I don't think that would happen, right? So what I'm saying to you is that I think that when you're talking about financial consciousness and economic elevation, you got to know what elevation really looks like. Elevation does not. I used to think elevating meant defeating your competition. I really did. I used to think elevating meant winning your battles. I used to think that, like, if I have a rival, if I defeat the rival, then I win. And then I learned that that's not really what true elevation is. True elevation is not when you defeat the rival. True elevation is when you've risen so much and you're vibrating on such a high level that you forgot that rival even exists. Do you understand? Like, my best way to defeat you is not really to defeat you. The best way for me to defeat you is when I've wiped you out of existence. you're not even a fly on the windshield anymore. You're not smudging my windshield with your raggedy ass. I don't even know that you're there. I don't, and I learned this. I learned this over time. Because we get caught up like, oh yeah, I'm gonna show them and I'm gonna compete with them. And I get that. We all go through that, right? Whatever level you're on, the other people that are on your level or that can get your attention becomes the adversary, and you're competing against that. A lot of us spend our lives that happens that causes us to sort of carry this baggage. But then when you're really into that meditative space and you're really elevating who you are and really being your best self, what you do is you kind of get to the point where a lot of that stuff is kind of gone. It's completely irrelevant. It's not even on the table. So what does that mean? Well, that means that you become the ultimate investor. You become a highly efficient investor when it comes to your money, your time, and your energy, because you're not wasting it on things and people that do not matter. That white guy that calls me the N-word, he does not matter. He ain't got nothing to do with the price of tea in China. He has no impact on my ability to feed my children or love my wife or do my job. And really, when you listen to, when you listen to the most elite people on the planet, most elite athletes, the most elite billionaires, the best actors and actresses, people that are at their best, I'm talking about the very best on earth, one common denominator you will see in every situation is this thing called focus. It's focus. I was listening to Justin Gatlin, who used to be the fastest man on earth. I told you I'm a big track and field fan. And he was talking about another great athlete named Fred Curley. Fred Curley is one of the fastest men on earth. If you watch the Olympics or the Olympic trials, you'll see Fred Curley out there. He's an amazing athlete. And Fred is in the middle of some dispute or something. Something's going on with his contracts or something, and it's causing it caused some confusion on the track. There were some weird things that happened on the track, and they were trying to figure it all out. And I was listening to Justin's assessment because Justin's qualified to talk about what Fred Curley's doing because he used to be the fastest man on earth. And all Justin said is, he said, focus. He said, I need Fred to focus. He said, all that matters is winning the Olympic gold medal in the 100 and 200 meters. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. And so what I do is what I want to do is I want to present that challenge to you. What is it that you have in your life? Maybe 2 or 3 things. It should be more than 2 or 3 things. What are 2 or 3 things in your life that matter more than everything else? Maybe it's your kids. Maybe it's your marriage. Maybe it's your business. Maybe it's your health. Whatever it is. And what I want you to do is I want you to practice focusing. Focus means, what is the goal? The goal is here. I'm focused on the goal. That means when the distraction pops up and tries to tap me on the shoulder and get me to look that way, no, I'm sorry, I'm focused on the goal. And focus, the ability to focus, I find, is deeply connected to self-awareness and self-esteem. It also is connected to how much you value whatever it is you're trying to do. If I value myself and my self-esteem is strong, then I know how important I am. I know how important my time is, which means that if I value my time and I know how important it is, I ain't gonna waste my time on your nonsense. I'm sorry. I'm too important. I'm Barack Obama over here. I'm an important man. And in order for you, because in order for you to become important, you must be the first person to acknowledge and to identify your own importance. And then when you acknowledge your importance, the world will now acknowledge your importance. Do you understand? Like for example, I don't even know how this sounds, but you know how much I love Louis Farrakhan, right? You know I love this man. I've met him many times, and most amazing conversations I've ever had. You can't talk me out of loving Farrakhan. I'm sorry. I know it's controversial, and Malcolm X. I got Malcolm back here, and I know about the history. Don't matter. Love Farrakhan. Ain't gonna change that. But has anybody ever noticed how over the last 50 years, Farrakhan has presented himself as a head of state? Farrakhan presents himself as a leader, as a king. And what happens is that when people see that, they respond to it. They're like, okay, yeah, yes, like, they will say, yes, your honor, yes, your honor, whatever, right? And a lot of that is because we know how important he is. His people know how important he is. He knows how important he is. And that leads other people to also acknowledge and understand that. So I would say to you that you are very important too. And I encourage you to acknowledge your importance, because when you acknowledge your importance, you're not going to allow yourself to be derailed by people that are bringing unimportant issues or people that are doing unimportant things. And that is an aspect of maturity. That's an aspect of manifesting. That's an aspect of because you've got all this energy inside of you, and in order for that energy to manifest and create something real, that energy must be focused. Focused energy achieves goals. Unfocused energy becomes a big waste. So what are you focused on? What matters to you? Where is your attention going to be? So let me move on to another topic I wanted to hit. I definitely got to hit this topic. This is actually supposed to be the main topic, but sometimes I see something else and I just grab it. I mean, I hope that this has been beneficial to you. That's the goal. And I want to remind everybody, by the way, today at noon, I'm going to do a Q&A for those of you that did the options income training the other day, Prime 101. And also, it's not too late if you want to still join the Q&A and get lifetime access to the recording of the training. There's a link here. I'll put the link in the chat if you guys want to take a look. And we're going to do this at noon. It's all about stock options and how to generate income from stock options, right? So as we talk about money and stuff like that, I want you to know how to find it and where it's located. So So let me share that. I'll give the link to you guys in the chat, and feel free to join us today at noon. The link to join at noon is actually inside the login. So feel free to join us there. All right. And also, don't forget to get on the text list. If you want to be notified when we do Money in the Morning, you can text the word morning to the number 87948. So just text morning to 87948, and I'll send that to you. All right. So how many of you, give me a yes if you are aware of Caitlin Clark in the WNBA controversy around Caitlin Clark. Has anybody been following that? Let me know if you've noticed that. So if you've seen Caitlin Clark, here's what Caitlin Clark is. Caitlin Clark is this extraordinary basketball player who happens to be a white female, and she's a white female from Iowa. And Iowa, kind of has a monopoly on white people. They just have so many white people in Iowa. It's amazing. And so she had this rivalry in college with a black player named Angel Reese, and Angel Reese played for LSU. And last year, women's basketball went up a notch because you basically had a Brown versus Board of Education kind of moment in women's college basketball. We had pretty much all black LSU basketball team against a pretty lily white Iowa basketball team, and LSU just wiped the floor with Iowa. They just kicked their butt. Now the thing is though, Caitlin Clark is a great player. She's extraordinarily good. And a lot of hype was around her. Right? If you haven't heard her name, you search her on the internet. She's everywhere. So what then happened was a lot of interesting things took place. Caitlin's market value went way up. Even our friend Ice Cube, who's been on this platform a few times, he offered her $5 million to come play in the WNBA. I don't think he made the same offer to any of the black female players. Also in the WNBA, Caitlin is off to a little bit of a rocky start in the sense that her team is not that great, but I think her numbers are pretty good. So she's doing okay for a rookie, but she's not even the best rookie. I think Angel Reese is actually the best rookie right now, and she's certainly not one of the best players in the WNBA. Aja Wilson, who plays for the Las Vegas Spades, I think that's the name of or the Aces, not the Spades. The Aces sounds funny, the Spades, right? But the Aces, she's the best player in the league. She's clearly dominant. She's so much better than almost everybody, really, especially Caitlin Clark. So this is kind of the framework. So I saw this interview with Charlamagne the God and Bill Maher. And in this interview, Charlamagne and Bill were talking about the racial disparity with Caitlin Clark versus all the other great black female players that are in the WNBA. Because there's been kind of this conversation where some people feel like the players are mean to Caitlin because they're jealous, but then again, there's some people saying, oh, no, it's just because she's a white woman or whatever. And so in this interview between Charlamagne and Bill Maher, Bill Maher said something to Charlamagne that kind of froze him up. He said something like, he said, well, are you saying that people love Caitlin because it's just racism? And Charlamagne said, no, it's not racism, but he's basically mentioning the fact that she's white and black players, there are black players like Aja who are better than Caitlin who don't get the same level of acknowledgement. But then Bill said something like, well, what about Serena Williams? Like, we love people, everybody loves Serena Williams, and she's black. And for some reason, it kind of froze Charlamagne, like he didn't know what to say. But actually, I think that there was a good response to that. And I'll lay it out like this. And this is an economic discussion, something that I see just because I look at everything from a financial standpoint. Here's the reality. Okay, so basically, in my mind, Caitlin Clark is to women's basketball what Elvis Presley was to musical performance. She's the basketball version of Elvis, the basketball version of Eminem. She's the modern day Larry Bird. That's what she is. She's all those three things. Elvis, if Elvis, Larry Bird, and Eminem had a baby, it would be Caitlin Clark. Okay. And even though that's a disgusting thought, I know, but but that's true. So what this speaks to is it could be, I mean, you could connect it to racism and it's indirectly connected, and I'll explain that too. But it's really driven by marketability in a total addressable market. Like, let me ask you all a question. Give me an honest answer to this question, yes or no. When you all watch a movie or watch a sporting event, how many of you are likely to cheer for the black person over anybody else? How many of you, or you watch a movie, you want the black person to survive, or you watch a sporting event and you just cheer for the black person, even if you don't know who they are. You just kind of like to, or even when if y'all remember when Tiger Woods first went out and he was kicking everybody's ass in golf, he's the greatest golfer in the history of all mankind. It is crazy because he was the only black guy out there. How many of y'all got excited about that? I was very proud of Tiger. I know Tiger's politics are a little bit conflicted, but I just love Tiger. I loved his dad. I love, it's an example of what strong fatherhood can do. So we have this thing. We like to see ourselves. We love to see the black person do well, especially if they're in a space where white people have traditionally dominated, like tennis. When Venus Serena came in and were killing it, it was so much fun. It was so inspiring to watch. So I want to ask a question: if we're able to appreciate the opportunity to see ourselves on screen and to see ourselves doing well, is it out of the question to expect that perhaps white people might feel the same way? Right, the same way I get excited when I see Tiger or Venus or Serena. I imagine white people get excited when they see Caitlin Clark. Hey, I mean, think about it. There aren't a lot of Caitlin Clarks. I mean, and remember, this is a sport, basketball, where it's usually the black people that are dominating. So you finally get your one white guy or your one white woman, and you're like, yay, there's one of us, right? Just like I felt when golf was boring to me when it was all white. But when Tiger came along, it was like, oh yeah, now golf is cool. I'm gonna watch every golf tournament now, and it showed. It showed in the numbers. Tiger, his presence and his dominance led to an economic explosion in golf that they had never even dreamed about. Even Tiger, the old, fat, bald version of Tiger, who's not even a shadow of what he used to be, is still a major financial draw. That's why he's in all these tournaments. It's because they'll pay big money to get him out there because people like us want to see him, right? And so the reality is that when you're looking at total addressable market, that is the sole advantage that Caitlin Clark has. Because it's 100% clear she's not as good as the best players in the WNBA. And the reality is this. Let's flip it like this. If Aja Wilson had been a white woman, then Aja Wilson would have been the original Caitlin Clark, in my opinion. Because she was dominant. She was the number one draft pick. She did all the things Caitlin did. But the same attention is not going to be there because the total addressable market is not the same. There are far more white people in America than there are black people. So a white person that goes into a traditionally black dominated space like hip hop or basketball or boxing is gonna just draw the revenue simply because there are more fans that are going to pull money out of their pocket in order to see that person. It's that basic. It's really that simple. And it's interesting that because people want to make it into an emotional political issue, you're distracting from the basic economics. The basic economics says that 1 million times $20 is going to be less than 10 million times $20. That if 1 million people give you $20, that's not the same as 10 million people giving you $20. And because Ice Cube knows how to count, that's why Ice Cube offered Caitlin Clark a $5 million contract to come and play in the Big Three, which she did not. She declined that. Or that's also why, remember, when Tiger Woods first went to professional golf, he was offered $100 million from Nike. And all the golfers were like, man, this is bullcrap. This guy hasn't even won a tournament yet. But Nike understood marketing. Nike understood business. Nike said, yeah, but not only is he dominant, but he's also black. And if he were a white guy, we wouldn't pay him $100 million because he's not bringing new eyeballs to the television screen, which is going to translate into the sale of far more merchandise and far more viewership, which is literally a multi-billion-dollar conversation. That's what it was. They didn't pay him the extra money because they just like black people more. We know that's not the case. They did it because they saw the total addressable market. It was basic economics. And I just really find it so fascinating that people don't talk about this. Like, well, they only like her because she's white and everybody liked the white woman. Yeah, I mean, sure, you can talk about that. And if you want to talk about the racial aspect of it all, sure, there's some racial implications that are more indirect. Perhaps you can go into just the fact that white people owe you $14 trillion because they've been stealing your wealth for the last 400 years. The reparations conversation. Shout out to Tariq Nasheed and the reparations rally in D.C. They're having it. I think they're having it today, actually. This conversation needs to be had, but to sort of take something like that and not understand those, how those economics works is a little bit confusing to me. I really think that this speaks to not remembering that basketball is a business. It's a business first. It's not a sport first. It's a business first. The WNBA's been losing money. They're going to lose money this year. They lose $50 million a year or something like that. They've got to find a way to get profitable. And Caitlin Clark might be their golden goose. Now, the one thing that's going to make Caitlin a little bit different, though, is that if she can't remember, there's a difference between a Caitlin Clark and a Larry Bird. Larry Bird had a lot of hype coming out of college because he was basically at that stage, he was exactly pretty much where Caitlin is right now. But Larry Bird became a truly monetizable brand at the next level when he was able to win championships at the next level. And there's a big difference between getting to the championship as a college student versus getting to the championship as a professional. And that is what makes Caitlin different from a Larry Bird. That's also what makes Caitlin different from a Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods had a lot of hype coming out of amateurism, but he had to then prove himself at the next level. If he had just sunk into the league and just became this mediocre golfer, the economic impact would not have been as great. What made Tiger and Larry Bird different from a Caitlin Clark is that Caitlin has not yet proven herself at the professional level. If she does that, if she gets to the point where she becomes even a shadow of what an A'ja Wilson is, A'ja Wilson, who's currently the most dominant player in the WNBA, if Caitlin gets close to being an A'ja or forms a rivalry with A'ja, which is really a big if, it probably won't happen, then you'll see a major multi-billion dollar situation occurring, because then that's something that's easily marketable at the next level. But it's all about the marketing, and race and marketing are deeply connected, and race and economics are deeply connected. For example, my PhD, my credentials, I match up with every white guy that you ever see on TV talking about finances or talking about anything. I would go pound for pound intellectually with Elon Musk. I don't think he's any smarter than me. I probably have more knowledge in my field than he does, but he's white. There's whiteness. He has a bigger addressable audience. I talk to intelligent black people, so I talk to a niche on top of a niche. I'm not talking to everybody. I get it. I get irritated when lots of people who are not black start following me because they don't understand me, and you're not supposed to understand me because I'm not speaking on your behalf. I'm speaking on behalf of the people that I understand and the people that I care about. So I don't look at it and say, "Gosh, dang, I should be making as much money as him." No, I shouldn't, because this man's got a bigger audience, right? It's audience size. So this comes back to the economics of it all. And I want you to kind of understand that, because sometimes you can get trapped into thinking that sports is all about who's the best player and who's going to win the most and all that. They don't care about that crap. You know how many sports teams there are that are completely unprofitable, or sorry, not unprofitable, but aren't winning any games, that are very profitable, and they're very happy with that. You know why some of these teams they remain mediocre for years after years? Because they're like, look, everybody's going to come to our games. The Chicago Bears are going to make money regardless. So why should we go spend, $400 million to get a good quarterback? Well, we could put the $400 million in our pocket and just put, whoever we want on the field. And these people are going to show up anyway. They're going to wear the Bears merchandise anyway. We're going to get the TV deal anyway. So why are we trying to waste all this money winning championships when we could just sit back and actually make a profit in this business and just field a decent enough team that people will keep coming back, but not so great that it's going to break the bank? A lot of teams that go to that level where they're trying to win championships either are very, very wealthy, they just have lots of money to burn, or they are losing money. They overspend on payroll because they're so determined to win a championship. Typically, that occurs when you have some owner who's already made so much money in some other area that they don't even need to make money from their sports team. They don't even care They didn't even buy the team to make a profit. Maybe they bought the team as a loss leader. They're like, yeah, we're gonna, or they bought the team as a write off. Like, okay, I'm gonna lose money over here because I'm making so much over there, and that's what it's. So the business side of sports is really important to understand, because I think also when you look at how many black boys are guided towards sports and pushed in that direction, you might as well learn the business side so you don't keep getting played. You know, sure, yeah, you could go out on the NFL football field and get some brain damage and make a couple dollars if you're lucky. But why not understand the business side so you can understand all the other ways that money gets made by the people that can't even play the damn sport? You know how many people there are who made millions of dollars from football and basketball, who are like, 5'2" and balding and chubby, like short, chubby, bald guys making millions of dollars on sports teams because they weren't raised to be the athlete. They were raised to be the owner. They were raised to be on the business side of sports. They were like, I don't want to be the actual player. That's too much work. I want to just sit on the sideline and make money from somebody else's labor. So that's a consciousness kind of thing. There was no point in Jerry Jones's football career, I believe, where Jerry Jones really thought, I'm going to make my millions of dollars by playing football. And he played in college, by the way. I don't know how good he was, but yeah, he could have probably tried to be in the NFL. Maybe he did. Maybe he played a little bit or whatever. But I don't think Jerry Jones sat around saying, I think I'm going to make all my money as an athlete. I think Jerry Jones said, how do I own this team? How do I remember? This is consciousness. His consciousness wasn't on that athlete level. It was on the like, okay, how do I control the athletes? You're right. And so what Jerry Jones does is, I think he became an oil man or something, and then he takes some of the money, he buys the Cowboys. I want to say for $100 million. Now, years later, the team's worth almost $10 billion. And every single year he's cycling through all these black athletes that come along where we all think that I'm a Cowboys fan, by the way, which is very depressing. So we all think that the Cowboys are going to be great that year, and then they always end up sucking. They always blow it in the first round of the playoffs. But every single year, whether the Cowboys are great or the Cowboys are mediocre, Jerry Jones always gets paid. Every single year, as black men are being cycled in and out of that team, making money 2 or 3 years, and then they're gone, Jerry Jones is always getting paid. Jerry Jones, a guy who probably couldn't run the 40-yard dash if his life depended on it. He'd probably have a heart attack. He's so old, he probably can't even lift up the damn football. He sits up in the owner's box in air conditioning, watching the game, which is also probably in air conditioning because they got that nice stadium. But he's watching these players go out here and getting brain damage every year. This guy is making more money than all of them. And again, this is a consciousness thing. You probably heard people say this, that it's not enough to be in a position where you're getting the big checks. You really want to aim to be the person who's writing the checks. Signing the back of the check is not as powerful as signing the front. Do you understand what I'm saying? When you sign the back of the check, that means somebody paid you. When you're signing the front of the check, that's when you are an investor. That's when you've actually you're giving up money so that you can have more money come back. Your money comes back like a boomerang, like a tidal wave. There's just like you put out 100,000, you're bringing back 1,000,000. But if you're thinking in the labor class, which many of us are raised in, we're raised with labor consciousness, then we're thinking, I'm going to go do some work, or I'm going to go show some skill, or I'm going to go get hit in the head a few times on the football field. And then some white man in the owner's box is going to write me a check. And I think that's really, you're kind of aiming for the wrong goal, because again, 99.9% of all the black boys that are playing football never make a nickel playing football. Not one. Not one. So maybe instead of just listening to the athletes who played the sport, maybe you should also listen to maybe Rich Paul, who's the buddy of LeBron James, who's probably made more money than most athletes will ever make. And he's going to be making that money for the rest of his life because he knows he can make money even though he's not 6'8", 250 pounds like LeBron. You understand? So consciousness to me, economic consciousness means understanding all the different ways there are to skin that economic cat, not getting caught up in one. You don't want them to channel you through one little pathway or lock you down in one little space, or pigeonhole you in one specific way. You want to be spread out. You want to spread out the offense. Like in sports, you spread out the offense. It's harder to play defense if you have a spread out offense, if you have multiple ways to attack, if you have multiple tools in your tool belt. And why is this important? Let's go back to the basics. Why is this important for Black America, Black men in particular, and Black women as well? It's important because when your men are in positions where they don't have economic options, it causes unbelievable amounts of harm to the Black family. Men who do not have economic security, do not feel safe enough to get married. They're scared to get married because they can't afford to take it. If you can't barely take care of yourself, what makes you think you can take care of a wife and kids? It's kind of scary. Men who do not have financial security, they're under tremendous amounts of stress. Right, you're scared to death. You're sweating. You're worried. You know the kids got to eat, and you can't do anything. Why? Well, because that white man's blocking you. Well, just like on the football field, the reason he blocks you so easy is because he knows you're going to run right up one little path. If you know anything about sports, you'll know this. If you don't like sports or something, please forgive me, but I'm going to use this analogy. In football, the way you get the ball down the field is the running back will see a hole and go through the hole. But if the defense knows exactly which hole you're going to go through, they can easily stop you. They'll be waiting right there to stop you every time. And if you keep going the same little pathway, just boom, 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 you're going to keep banging your head against the wall, and you're going to keep trying to run the ball, and they're going to tackle you every time. So my thing is like, why not spread it out a little bit? Why not add some variety to the attack? Why not? Why don't we say, look, we can still have the athletes. We're still going to have the LeBrons. We're going to have the Shaquille O'Neals. And we're going to have the Michael Jordans. We're going to make lots of money playing sports. And hopefully they'll bring some of that money back to the Black community and have some economic maturity to understand just how amazing of an opportunity God gave them. When you make all that money, God did not just give you the opportunity to buy luxury cars and Gucci and jewelry and put money in the thongs of big booty strippers. God gave you money that is enough to go build an industry. If you have the right mindset and the right level of economic consciousness, you can go back to your old neighborhood and create 50,000 jobs for people and make money for yourself at the same time. You can go elevate, you can graduate from millionaire status to billionaire status, but you're going to need more training on that, just like you got training to play a sport. So we can still have the LeBrons and the Michaels and the Money Mayweathers and all that. I want all that as long as it comes with a certain level of economic consciousness and community commitment. But then what about the other 99.9% of all the men and women that are never going to be Floyd Mayweather, that are never going to be a LeBron James, that are never going to be in any professional sports league? Well, you've got to have a plan for that too. And the plan has to be deeper than just, I'm going to go to school and go $200,000 in debt at somebody's big white university, and then I'm going to go out and get me a job making $60,000 a year and try to pay off this $200,000 debt making $60,000 a year. That don't even make no sense. That ain't going to work. You need entrepreneurs. You need people that are thinking about finances and money at a certain level. You need an investor class like no other. You need an investor class like no other. Because when you don't invest, you are wasting time. When you waste time, you are losing millions of dollars when you waste time. I've explained to you all in this class on many occasions that many of you who pay your car note on time, your cell phone bill on time, your rent on time, you don't understand that when your owner is taking on, I'm calling your owner, because if you are renting, you have an owner. When your owner is investing your rent money every single month in the S&P 500, you literally, after 20 or 30 years, have bought that sucker a mansion or maybe two. You bought two mansions for another person because they have a certain level of economic consciousness that you are avoiding, that you are either afraid of or you are rejecting. Because you are so determined to relegate yourself to the worker class and to the broken class that you don't understand that perhaps I can elevate to a class where I can actually have resources and manage those resources and manifest the reality that I want to see. You understand? It's all a difference in mindset. Your mindset is, I'm going to pay my rent so I can survive for the following for another month and keep going to work. His mindset is, I'm going to keep collecting this rent money so I can invest it to make sure that my children and grandchildren have millions of dollars in the bank. That's it. And they're literally doing it off your rent money. If they take your $1,500 a month in rent and they invest that over a 10, 20, 30-year period, they will literally have hundreds of thousands, really millions of dollars in that bank account. If you want to see it just directly, blackwealthmasterplan.com. Remember, with blackwealthmasterplan.com, I was explaining to you that if you invested simply $150 a month for your kids, after 10 years, you'd have about $29,000, roughly, give or take a few thousand. Well, remember, 1,500 is 150 times 10. So those of you who are avoiding doing just 150 a month for your family, you're doing 10 times that for your landlord. A lot of us are doing 10 times more to build the wealth for our landlord than we're doing for ourselves. And then you're curious and you're wondering why Black wealth is expected to go to zero. Well, the math will tell you everything you need to know. This ain't no mystery. This is not a complex question. This is not something that requires the greatest financial scientists to figure out. No, this is, I can explain this to a 5-year-old. If you're giving away 10 times more than you're keeping for yourself, of course you're going to be depleted. Give me any kindergartner and give me about 3 minutes, and I can help the kindergartner understand the Black wealth problem in about 3 minutes. It ain't calculus. This ain't even algebra. If you won't even invest $150 a month for yourself, but you'll invest $1,500 a month in the landlord, then why would you think that you could ever catch up with the landlord? That doesn't even make any sense. So again, when I was explaining, like, so with the $5 a day plan, it's really, I love it though, right? It just says like, okay, you do $5 a day, 150 a month, you invest for yourself, because you're investing for everybody else. After 10 years, you have about 29,000, right? Well, if you're doing 10x that for your landlord has more than $250,000. He has 290,000. After 20 years, you have about 100,000. Good for you. He has $1 million. You made him a millionaire. You paid your rent. Think about this. How many of you, give me a yes, how many of you in this room have paid a rent or a mortgage consistently every month for at least 10 years? Or maybe 20 years. How many of you have done that? Or how many of you know somebody who's paid rent consistently on time for 20 straight years? Anybody know that? Anybody know somebody like that? And again, so if you do the basic math and you take about $1,500 a month in rent, and I know the numbers vary over time because of inflation and all that, and you do that over a 20-year period, he has $1 million. He can invest that directly in the S&P 500 with no investing knowledge whatsoever. Just put it into an S&P 500 index fund like SPY or VOO, and he has $1 million. After 30 years, your $150 a month has grown into close to $250,000. He's way ahead of you. He's got 2.5 million. After 40 years, your 150 investment grows to about $750,000. Good for you. Well, he's got 7.5 million. So when y'all both knocking on heaven's door and you're both going to the pearly gates, you've done great. You've accumulated 750 for your family. Your family's good. Your family is wealthy. Congratulations, you did it. You did it. But remember, he's leaving 7.5 million. So if you define the racial wealth gap as a type of white supremacy, that gap is not shrinking. That gap ends up growing. If you relegate yourself to the worker, renter, consumer class. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of these things. There's nothing wrong with being a worker, nothing wrong with being a renter, nothing wrong with being a consumer. I have been all three. We all have, many of us have been all three. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm not making fun of anybody in that space. Okay. But what I'm saying is that your goal, just like in school, your goal should be to graduate. See, we think about graduating as, okay, I was in the seventh grade, and then the eighth grade, and then I went to high school, so I had my middle school graduation. That's how we think about graduation. Or I was in college, and then I was a sophomore, junior, senior, then I graduated from college. So we think about graduating in these formal educational terms, and unfortunately, we know there's a difference between being educated and simply going to school. A lot of people go to school, but they're never educated, right? But I encourage you to think about graduation from an economic standpoint. To me, graduation economically might mean going from the renter class to being in the owner class. Okay, I sacrificed as a renter so I could save enough surplus to build enough wealth to become an owner, right? Or maybe graduating from the consumer class to the producer class. I used to consume, I used to just buy stuff and Gucci this and Prada that, and I'd buy a Mercedes, whatever. But now I'm not just a consumer, I'm also a producer. I've graduated, right? Or graduating from the worker class to being a boss of something, right? Not the boss of everything, not that being a worker is bad, but saying like, hey, I my dues. I had the job and I went to work. Now I have something I'm leaving my kids. I've graduated. You understand? I think that should be something that we all take pride in, something we all aim for. That should be aspirational. So what I want you to reflect on from an economic consciousness standpoint is I want you to reflect on that which has been defined as being aspirational in the Black community. What is aspirational? What does success really look like for a lot of people? Well, I could turn on TV and I'll see some rapper saying, hey, I grew up in the hood and I was struggling. Now I got to deal with Cash Money Records. And if I made it, anybody can make it. And we see that as aspirational. and nobody really knows the reality. I know rappers sign with Cash Money Records, and I know that rappers get killed every single week. And I talk to rappers a lot. I told you I sat on the phone with Kanye West for 12 hours. I did not call this Negro. He called me. I don't like him that much because he gets on my nerves. He's too arrogant. But either way, though, we had that conversation. So I've talked to a lot of rappers, and I'm like, why in the world would you want to be in a field where somebody might kill you any day of the week? Like, that's just crazy to me. I would not want to live that life. That's a terrible life. But that's aspirational to us. We aspire to this crazy, terrible life of being a rapper. What else? What else might seem aspirational? Let's think about that. If somebody gets on Instagram and they see somebody wearing Louis and Gucci like all the way down to the socks, and they standing next to a Mercedes or something, talking about I'm blessed, or giving, or a lot of the people that are teaching the financial stuff now, like you got a lot of people that's an emerging industry, so they're in the private jet and they got the Mercedes and all this, and they're pulling you in with all this material stuff, right? That becomes aspirational. Oh, I wish I had a car like that. Oh, I wish I had a private jet. Oh, I wish I could wear Gucci like that. That becomes aspirational, right? But what that's doing is that's just making you into a super consumer. That's literally making you into almost like a financial addict, where you are somehow caught up in this false idea that somehow if I have all this fancy stuff, that somehow that makes me a more substantive, meaningful human being. And the truth is that that's just not the case. God made you special just the way you are. You could be out here butt naked without a nickel in your pocket. And if you are a good person and a hardworking person and a decent person and a loving person and a person who adds value to the lives of others, you are worth 100 times more than that goofy Negro wearing all the Louis Vuitton and driving in the Mercedes. Right? You're in my mind, you are winning. They're not winning. They just don't know it because their losership is disguised by all this nonsense. They're putting lipstick on the pig. You put lipstick and perfume on a pig. So if you're not working on the inside before you get to the outside, then you're going to have a lot of struggles in life. And evidence of that comes from the fact that there are so many people that have all the material stuff. They got the car, they got the so-called fancy lifestyle, but they are miserable on the inside. Their mental health is a wreck. They're dealing with all kinds of horrible chaos. Some of them, especially in hip hop, some of them have to wake up every day knowing somebody's trying to kill them. STDs, which no one talks about. Children, you got kids everywhere. Your children hate you because you were a ladies' man and you made all these babies, and because that was what the culture told you to do. What else? We can keep going down the list. And I'm not making fun of people in that category. I'm just saying that the reality is I think that somebody sold you the wrong dream. I think somebody sold you a false bill of goods. They sold you something that wasn't going to make your life better, man. That's why you feel like shit every morning, even though you got $1 million in the bank. That's why you want to kill yourself, even though you're the most famous artist on the planet. Well, because on top of all that, the fake material, ignorant nonsense, they're also sprinkling in drugs and alcohol, which are excellent ways to wreck your life. If you ever want to have a horrible life, go get addicted to drugs and go drink a lot. And then what's going to happen is not only are you going to be have tremendous emotional imbalance, but you're going to do a lot of horrible things that you're going to regret, things that could put you in prison or get you killed. That's what's going to occur. But they tell you that all these things are okay. So what I'm saying is that when we talk about what is aspirational, I believe, again, this is just my humble opinion. You ain't got to agree with me. I'm not asking y'all to agree with me. I'm just asking you to listen. And I appreciate you listening. My humble opinion is our goal should be to graduate. Economically speaking, I want to graduate from being a consumer to being a producer. I want to graduate from being a worker to being a boss. I want to graduate from being a spender to a saver. I want to graduate from being a renter to being an owner. I want to graduate from being a Black man to being a father and or husband. I want to graduate from being just from a city girl like Megan Thee Stallion to being a mother and a wife or whatever it is that you're aiming for. Right? I want to graduate from wherever the world tells me I'm supposed to be as a Black person. I need to graduate and elevate to be where God meant for me to be. Remember, this is God's plan versus Massa's plan. I think Massa's plan for the Black man is that he wants the Black man to remain a child. That's why some of the most famous Black men on earth are just goofball comedians. The Drewski Too Funny and Kevin Hart and Toyo. They like the Black man when he's a goofball, when he's not serious. They fear serious Black men. They fear Malcolm X. They fear Dr. Claude Anderson. They do not fear Kevin Hart. They like Kevin Hart. He's funny. He makes you laugh. That boy's so funny. Right? So the master's plan for the black man is you will never be a king because kings are serious. Kings issue directives. Kings can manifest. Kings can fight wars. They don't want you to be the king. They need you to be the clown. The clown doesn't manifest anything except laughter. The clown is a joke. The clown, when the battle begins, the clown runs away because that's funny. It's funny to see a bug-eyed clown, bug-eyed buffoon like clown scared. They're coming, y'all. They're coming. They like that. They like. We need you to be the bug-eyed buffoon. We don't want you showing up like Malcolm, who's serious, who's like, okay, where's our reparations? Where's our money? So they don't want you showing up like Dr. Claude Anderson, who's saying, okay, I've got documented evidence of all the things that you've done to us, and these are the things that you should compensate us for, and this is what we demand in order for us to get our vote. They don't want that. They want the clown. They want the ditty. They want you dancing. All right, that's what they like that, right? That to me, that's the master's for the black man, and to keep him as a child, to keep him as an infant, to not ever graduate from boyhood to manhood. I think there should be rites of passage for boys, by the way. There's no rites of passage. So you have a lot of 45-year-old children out here that are in prominent positions, which makes them very, very dangerous because many of them have 30, 40 million people following them on Instagram. I think the master's plan for the black woman is there's a multitude of plans Massa has for the black woman, but one of the biggest ones I've noticed, and my wife has pointed this out a lot, is they kind of want the black woman to be seen as a hoe. Right? They really have worked extremely hard. If you pay attention to the music, there is not a variety anymore. There used to be variety where you had the raunchy and then you had the classy. You had the Anita Baker and the Sade, and then you also had some of the stuff that was a little racier, Lil Kim or whatever. Now it's just all Cardi, Megan, all this other stuff. It's literally every time you turn on Shade Room, 9 times out of 10 when you turn on Shade Room, you see a black woman there. She's usually shaking her booty. Right. And this is a really serious issue, in my opinion, because this fits into those stereotypes of the black woman. My wife has done a full lecture. I'll find it and I'll send it to you guys. But she's done a full training on the major stereotypes of black women that have historically been held and what they do to the lives of black women, even to this day. She mentioned the mammy stereotype, which is like the big Aunt Jemima, like asexual, big black woman that all the white people love. There is the Jezebel stereotype. I think that's like the Megan Thee Stallion, like, you're a big hoe, you'll sleep with anybody for money. And then there was the angry black woman, just kind of angry and you're strong, you're very masculine. You don't deserve to be nurtured or protected. And even your men, a lot of your men don't feel that you deserve to be protected. They will attack black women as quickly as anyone else. And or abandon them and just say, oh well, my baby mama, they'll take care of the kids because that's what my mama did. And so all these images in terms of Massa's plan and the image of black women is being marketed, and you can't really. It's hard to debate with me on this just because you don't see white women who are as famous as Megan Thee Stallion who are doing the same sorts of things that Megan is doing. You have white women that try to do it, but they don't become as popular. And there is no white version of a Cardi B in terms of a woman that's that famous who's out here doing the same sort of thing. So there are other plans for you. Massa has a plan for you. And I don't think Massa's plan is one that's going to lead you to manifest the life that you want to actually have. Massa's plan is a plan for you to pretty much stay where you're supposed to be. Wherever you were 100 years ago, that's where they want you now. And if you don't fight against that, then you're not going to ever succeed. So let's circle back and on our final point. In terms of economic elevation, we have to understand what it means to manifest, what it means for our team to actually be able to win. And I think manifest requires, just circling back on what we talked about today, manifesting means focus. Right. And so I'm going to focus. I'm going to focus on what matters, not focus on what haters say. I'm not going to focus on what the enemy has to say. I'm going to focus on what God is telling me to do and to create in my life so I can make sure that our children go into the world safe and protected. Right. Because we leave our children unprotected. When we break up the family, the child is going to be harmed. When we are leaving them economically vulnerable, the child gets harmed because the child basically gets sold into slavery. And the only way they won't be sold into slavery is if you stop it. If you don't stop it, then it's going to happen. Your child will be working for a white man. And that's exactly what the intention has always been. Dr. Claude Anderson talks about how after slavery, 98.5% of all black people work for a white person. He said 200 years later, 98.5% of all Black people work for a white person. How the hell do you think that that happened without somebody designing that as the expectation? Do you think all that happened coincidentally? It didn't happen coincidentally. That's by design. So again, Massa has a plan for you. So that's it. That's my point for today. I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down. But I encourage you to really think about these things and to really understand and think about your economics in terms of remember what it means to graduate. You know, you graduate from being a renter to an owner, from a worker to a boss, a consumer to a producer. And the really best thing you can do for your children is to teach them to think on that level, to vibrate on that frequency at an early age, to elevate their consciousness, financial consciousness. That's why we're here every morning, to a level where they're already thinking as a consumer, or as a producer, and as an owner, and as an investor at an early age. And they don't have to sort of be pulled out of the basement to go to wherever they're supposed to be. That's how you have power in America. The power is available to us. I know that white people don't like you very much. I get that. Racism is very, very real. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to ever stop you if you're truly determined to make a difference in your own life. So stop talking to me about what the white man's doing. I need to know what you are doing. Stop talking to me about what he's doing to try to stop me. Of course, he's going to try to stop me because my goal is to be the biggest, baddest, scariest Negro he's ever seen in his life. I'm going to look him in the face and I'm going to say, I'm here to compete with you. I'm not here to bow to you. I'm not here to make you laugh. I'm not here to be your entertainment. Oh, in fact, if you keep messing around, you're going to end up working for me. How about that, boy? Seriously, I don't dislike white folks. I'm not, this is not meant to be disparaging toward anybody. But at the end of the day, I'm not here to be your boy. I'm a grown man. I have graduated and I plan to go to the next level, whatever that is. And when I figure out what the next level is, that message will come from a higher power, higher than you, because you are not my God. We are not here to be somebody's Negro. I want you to win. Okay, so go out here and win. Let's fight for what we deserve. All right, everybody, let's get out of here. Quick reminders. Number one, the Q&A for options income starts in about 45 minutes. So if you still, here's the link. If you still would like to join, you can still sign up now. There's a big discount on the recording from the live training we did the other day. And we're going to do a follow-up Q&A. But if you still want to get access to the live recording, or here it is right there. And it's yours for life. You can share it with your family. It's about $50. So feel free to take a look at that. Number two, if you enjoy these morning sessions and you want to come back live, make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to 87948. If you text morning to 87948, I'll send you a reminder just like I did this morning to come into class. And then third, if you want to get a recording of all of the previous trainings that we've done, then that's actually available at drboycedaily.com. So drboycedaily.com, it makes you a premium member in this class where you can have access to literally everything that we've done up until this point. And you can share that with your family, stuff like that. And that's pretty much it. So have a good day, everybody. I will see you all. If I don't see you in the Q&A today, I'll see you at the